You probably have a graveyard in your house. Maybe it's a dusty guitar sitting in the corner, untouched for months. A stack of language books you bought with so much hope but barely opened. Or a half-finished project on your laptop, quietly waiting for a version of you that never came back. And every time you see them, you feel it. That small, uncomfortable sting of guilt. Society has a lot of names for this. They call it flaky. They call it a lack of discipline. Or the most famous one, jack of all trades, master of none. The story always sounds the same. You start with excitement, you dive in completely, you tell yourself, this is it, this is the one. And then, right when things start getting serious, the feeling disappears. You get bored, you lose momentum, you quit, and you move on to the next shiny thing. After a few years of this cycle, the self-doubt creeps in. You start asking yourself, why can't I just stick to something? What's wrong with me? But today, I want to offer you a different perspective, one that's a little kinder and a lot more honest, because being a dabbler isn't necessarily a flaw. In fact, you share the same foundation as a genius polymath. You're driven by curiosity. You crave novelty. You have what scientists call a knowledge instinct. The difference between you and a master is not your personality, it's your strategy. And to understand that, we need to look at what's really happening inside your brain. When you start learning something new, everything feels exciting. Let's say it's photography. At the beginning, the progress is fast. You go from knowing nothing to knowing something. That rapid growth creates a powerful reward signal. Your brain floods you with dopamine. It feels amazing, almost like falling in love. This is what we call the novice high. But then something changes. You start to understand the basics. You learn how the camera works. You grasp exposure, lighting, composition. And suddenly, the excitement fades. The progress slows down. The novelty disappears. You hit the plateau. And for your brain, that means the reward shuts off. This is the moment that changes everything. A master keeps going because they're searching for deeper understanding. But a dabbler? A dabbler stops here. Not because they're lazy, but because the fuel is gone. Your brain isn't refusing to act. It's refusing to act without reward. You're experiencing something very real, a kind of dopamine withdrawal. So you walk away. But let's be honest for a second. Are you quitting because you mastered the skill or because it got uncomfortable? Because there is a difference. Sometimes it's not about dopamine. Sometimes it's fear. Fear of being bad. Fear of failing. Fear of not being as talented as you hoped. And that fear reveals something important, a weak muscle in your brain. We often talk about willpower like it's a personality trait, like you either have it or you don't. But neuroscience tells a different story. Your ability to push through discomfort lives in a specific part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, or AMCC. Think of it as a muscle. When you do something you don't want to do, it activates. When you avoid discomfort, it weakens. So every time you quit because something felt boring or hard, you weren't just making a choice, you were putting the weight down. And over time, that muscle got weaker. Now even small challenges feel overwhelming, a difficult chapter, a confusing problem, a slow day of progress, and your brain says, stop. Not because you're incapable, but because you're untrained. The good news? This muscle can grow at any age. Just like going to the gym, you don't start heavy, you start small. This is where the 15% rule comes in. When you feel like quitting, don't force yourself to keep going for hours. That's too much. Instead, do just a little more. If you plan to read 10 pages but want to stop at page 3, go to page 4. Then stop. That tiny push, that uncomfortable extra effort, that's the rep. That's how the muscle grows. And over time, those small reps build real strength. Now, there's something important we need to acknowledge. For some of you, this isn't just about habits. You might have ADHD, and if that's the case, your brain works differently. Trying to rely purely on willpower can actually backfire. It can lead to burnout, frustration, and even shame. So instead of forcing yourself, you need support systems. Break tasks into small, visible steps. Use timers to create structure. Work alongside others to stay focused. Turn your progress into a game with rewards. Don't fight your brain. Design your environment to support it. There's one final piece to this puzzle: boredom. The reason the plateau feels so unbearable is because your brain is overstimulated. We live in a world of constant dopamine, short videos, endless scrolling, instant gratification. So when you sit down to do something slow, something meaningful, it feels unbearable, like silence is suffocating you. But that boredom, it's not the enemy. It's actually the gateway. It's the moment your brain shifts from consuming to creating. So instead of escaping it, you need to train your tolerance for it. Put your phone away, reduce distractions, sit with the discomfort. Because on the other side of that boredom is focus. So here's what I want you to do. Give yourself a 6-month challenge. Pick one thing. Just one. It doesn't have to define your life. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just choose something and commit. Not to mastery, but to staying. Your goal is simple. Reach the plateau, feel the boredom, feel the resistance, and keep going anyway. Use the 15% rule. Train the muscle. Because once you prove to yourself that you can push through, everything changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who quits and start seeing yourself as someone who builds. I believe you know someone like this, someone who keeps starting but never finishes. Share this with them. And if this helped you, make sure you like the video and subscribe, because in the next one, we're going to talk about the Polymath strategy, how to build a life that doesn't force you to choose just one path, but helps you master many. I'll see you in the next one.